Okay, so here's the show, part of the tell that we didn't get to do last time. I just wanted to show you some of the things that I've got in the notes that, I don't know, it's kind of hard to visualize. I've got some examples in here, but it's not the easiest thing to do, easiest thing to explain what it looks like. Oh, great. Come on now. There it goes. I know you can do it. I know you got the RAM to do it. Come on, VM. See, and this is why I really don't like doing GUIs in VMs at all. Okay, so we were talking about at the top of the lecture, we were talking about libraries, where they are, what they look like, how you can figure out which libraries a specific package uses. So I kind of wanted to give you some of that. So ldconfig isn't anything that you would really run on any regular basis. This is after you have added this thing down here. So echo library path will show you any additional library paths that you might have set up. So we were talking about before that lib would contain a lot of libraries. lib64 will contain a lot of libraries. And then I've got this example up here of what we were talking about, right? So I was mentioning down here that a lot of Linux distros will show you just so.1, but it will link to another library that is so.whatever. So the big thing about that is that they're able to change this thing. So whatever it's linked to, this one can change to 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, whatever. Anytime there's a security patch that needs to be added to it, that can be changed. But the system will always call it libtick.so.6. So when you go and you do, in the case of OpenSUSE, you do zipper up, and you get all the updates that you need for OpenSUSE or whatever. This might actually change to 6.2. But to the system, it doesn't matter, because the system will just refer to it as 6. All right. So LDD is a command that you're going to use with various binaries. So the example I've got in here is which Firefox and then LDD, the path to it. So let me explain what this is all about. So which is a command that will tell you where a specific binary lives. And remember, binary is just program, right? You'd click on that Firefox logo on your desktop. We're basically doing the same thing here. So which Firefox, and it'll tell you user bin Firefox. So if you want to know where Firefox is, where it lives, that is the path. So I know that. Let me see. Let's go to files. I feel like I only gave this thing 1 gig of RAM. It's kind of crawling. So we'll hit other locations, which will let us go to the very top of the file system. So this is, well, okay. Let's do that again. It took 1 click. All right, so under computer here, that's actually its file path. So that /, you click on it, it'll take you in, and you can kind of follow that along. So it said user bin Firefox, right? That's where it's telling us. So you can go in here to user bin as everything comes through. Oh, it's because I only gave it 1 CPU. All right, well, it's gonna crawl a bit. There you go. So here are all the executables in your system. So you scroll all the way down to F. Firefox. So that's it. Turns out user bin Firefox is actually a link. Notice that little down arrow thing. So what we can do is kind of follow that along. User bin Firefox. And it'll tell you user bin Firefox actually lives in lib64 Firefox firefox.sh, which is a shell script. Wow, I found the most recursive thing in the entire system. But either way, that's it. User bin Firefox. If you want to call it, you can call it that. And you can use LDD for that as well. User bin Firefox. And oh wow, so okay, so this is gonna not allow me to do that. Let's find another one. This way I can show you exactly what's going on. That was 7-zip up there, I think. 7Z. So let's do that. User bin 7Z. Wow, none of these are dynamic executables. Great. Of course. So I did. Of course, I did all this in CentOS, and then I'm gonna try and example it to you in OpenSUSE, and obviously it's not gonna work. So let me see if I can boot up CentOS as well. I need to show you something in CentOS anyway. So the deal is, these will typically work, but SUSE does things a little differently than CentOS does. But LDD, it's meant to just show you what libraries are associated with whatever. And that is really weird. Apt is in here too. Apt and aptitude. So let me try it with, let's see, LDD. LDD user bin. There we go. Okay, that's a better example. So Zypper being the software, the package manager. So LDD, user bin Zypper, and then it tells you it needs this library, and that library, and that library, and that one, 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 all the way down. So that is what that is about. That's what that's for. So package management. Since we're in OpenSUSE, we'll start at the bottom. These are the big things that you need to know. So we talked about in RPM and Yum. I'll give you guys a ton of examples how to use RPM. RPM works in OpenSUSE. So if you want to do an RPMI in OpenSUSE, you can. RPM IVH totally works, right? So RPM gives you all that information. So anything that we've covered in RPM and Yum right here, this will work in OpenSUSE. It will go to both. There we go. So, all right, showing you on CentOS. This happens all the time. CentOS doesn't load mouse drivers for VirtualBox. So you're going to get this all the time. Every time you click into CentOS, it's going to ask, do you want me to capture your mouse? You're going to have to say yeah. To release it, wait. Oh, no. Wait, quit. Capture. Oh, wow. It's like super busted. Why can nothing work today? It's just a continuation of Monday. Why? Man. It works fine on my desktop, too. Yes. This is great. See, this is why I do not like doing GUIs. And CentOS is one of the worst for all of this. Anyway, you can get around a lot of this because we're going to be doing most of the stuff in the terminal anyway. I think a reboot will fix it. I think it's because I had it in the background booting up. But tab around. Sorry that you have to do it like this, but tab around. You can use the enter key to hit OK on these things. And you'll get in. The Windows key will open up things like activities where you can type things like terminal. And then you'll get a command line. So you should be able to do the same thing that we were doing before, which Firefox, LDD, user, bin, Firefox, that one too. So let's do Yum. Wow, nothing is a dynamic. No, not for LDD. Yeah, so no, that doesn't have anything to do with it. There we go. So just choosing a binary that I know that's actually part of the system, you'll have a lot of that. What I wanted to show you, though, Come on. Is the yum stuff. I would just like to start from the top, to be honest. That way it's a bit more in order. So I wanted to do the example here that I've got in the notes, just so you guys know how this stuff works. So most of the time in these notes, I'm just going to have the commands themselves. It's up to you to figure out whether or not those need to be run as administrator, sudo, or not. And just think, before you run any command, if it's touching system files, and installing software is definitely touching system files. Think of Windows, right? When you're or in Mac, when you're installing new software, it's asking you to drop it into the applications folder, or you double click on it. In Windows, you'll get UAC. It'll pop up. Are you sure you want to do this? And in Mac, you'll get type your password in so that this operation can complete. Anything like that, you'll need to run sudo in the terminal in Linux. So if you're messing with system stuff, you'll need it. So in this case, you will. Sudo yum install nano. And you'll see how this works. I have a feeling it's just not going to work just because of what today is. It's already installed. So that'll do. Sudo yum install nano. But I wanted to show you guys that DNF will do the same thing. DNF works the same basic way as yum. And as far as I know, in these later versions of CentOS, DNF is yum. It just links to it. So when you're typing in yum, it actually just is DNF anyway. It's tricking you. So anyway, DNF search GUI, what I've got in the list, or yum, you could substitute yum in there if you want. It's going to search through all the repositories. And remember that search with yum and DNF are searching the descriptions in this. So if GUI is in the description, in that paragraph that's written after the package name, if it's in there, it'll pull this up. So you'll tend to get more results with search than you will with list. And we'll do the same thing in list. And that's only the package name. So if the package name actually has GUI in it, then it'll show up. But other than that, it will not. Slow internet has a little bit to do with this as well. Make that bigger. Come on. And you can get the same thing done in OpenSUSE since I've got it up. What is it? Sudo zipper in nano, I think is the way we'll do that. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so in this, it still doesn't work. In this, you can see GUI matches pretty much a lot of things. It's going to match a ton of stuff. So, and I can't scroll. Hold on. Does that work? Shift page up. Ah, cool. Okay. So it does work. So anyway, DNF search GUI. And it's got GUI in some of the descriptions, GUI in some of the names. And then you can do the same thing. Sudo DNF list GUI. Yeah, only in the name. Yeah, so looks like there isn't a whole lot of anything that has it in the name, that it is that by itself. Aw. Oh, okay. I tried to do it over here too, and it looks like Nano's already installed. So Nano is installed everywhere. CentOS used to not package it, which is why I use that as the example, but looks like it's installed now. Let me see. Yeah. So if you want to do your updates, sudo yum update. This will grab all the new software from the repos and give you a list of all of the software that you may want to install, or that you will need to install. Oops. Shift, yeah. So lots and lots of stuff, right? So y'all will need to install all of these things as well. Pretty much all of that is new. So this is software that's already on your system that needs to be installed, that needs to be upgraded. And by default, if you just smack enter, it'll do no. So look at that very bottom line. It says, is this okay, yes or no? Whichever one is capitalized is the default. So if you just hit enter, that's what it will do. And in this case, that's in. So if you hit enter, it'll abort. Otherwise, hit Y and it'll start. So I will do that toward the end of this, so y'all don't have to sit here and wait for that. But I want to show you what it looks like while it's working. So right at the very end, I'll do that. And then for OpenSUSE, it's kind of the same deal. Zipper up, I believe, is the command for that. Zipper is new to me. I haven't used a whole lot of OpenSUSE. It's a more European thing, but you see it every now and then. There we go. Oh, wow. There's not a... Oh, that's right, because right when you install it, it does go through all the updates. If you chose yes on the repository, as I asked you to do, you won't need to do much of this. But, yeah, there may be 1 or 2 packages that you need to update in here. I installed this late yesterday afternoon, and by then, there's already one thing I need to do. But again... this one doesn't have... Oh, okay, so this is a little different. Here are all the options. Looks like there are more options than yes, no as well. But Y is here in the default. So if you just hit enter, it should just go. And since it's one package, I'll just go ahead and do it. Seems small enough anyway. So every step of the way, and this goes for Yum, DNF, and apt as well. Every step of the way, it'll tell you what it's doing. So right here, it was downloading. It was already cached. So it looks like OpenSUSE does all these downloads sometime when there's not a lot going on in the system. The only thing it did was install, and then it'll tell you it's done. Oh, and of course, check for conflicts. After that, drops you down to a terminal. Doesn't tell you much else. And so if Linux doesn't tell you something, you're probably fine. The only time Linux really talks to you is when something's wrong. So it'll tell you, error in this. This didn't complete properly or whatever. Let me see, what else did I do? Oh yeah, Zipper search. I keep using that one. SE, so we can search for Nano. There might be some plugins or something like that that you can install. But Zipper works very similarly. Yeah, there you go. So lots of things that you can install for Nano and things that aren't even Nano as well. But either way, that's how you'll search in Zipper. Oh yeah, list repositories as well. Oops. So I wanted to show you that one. So if you want to know where all your software is coming from, there they are. Only the ones that are enabled over here in the middle column, those are the only ones that are being used. So this one, which if you dig down, it turns out this is actually the disk itself, the install ISO, is not being used. The repo debug, all these are not being used. Non-open source software is being used, the main repo, etc., etc., etc. So that's how those work. You can add repositories as well with AR. Typically on enterprise systems, you're not going to be doing that unless there's a good reason to do so and there's a policy written about it. There's not a whole lot of times where you'll just go onto an enterprise server and then just start installing software that you think is a good idea and then just, cool, right? There's typically going to be a process that you go through. A testing process. You've got to vet this software, so you'll have it in a VM. You'll test it out over there, see how stable it is. You'll run a copy of your database over here on this testing machine and everything. And if the software runs well for a month or something like that, you're good to start deploying it out to your enterprise systems. No one no one worth their salt will typically go out and just randomly install crap on servers that they haven't tested thoroughly before. So adding repository is not something that you're going to do a whole lot, but know that it does exist. And a repository is just a URL or a location on the internet where more packages than what comes with the system are available. So for some reason, if you wanted to install Steam, like the game thing on OpenSUSE or Fedora or CentOS, you'll have to jump through some hoops, add a repository, and then you can install that software through the command line. But not a lot of times do you run into that. You can do the same thing. Oh, wait, I clicked yes. No. Wait, Control-C, Control-C. There we go. Yeah, if you make a mistake, Control-C. That will stop the current job, whatever that is. You can do the same thing. List repo. Is it list repo or repose? I always forget. I guess it's list repos. Oh, I don't have it written down. Let me see. Yum list. Maybe? Oh gosh, this thing. I promise the mouse thing bothers me as much as it does you. What's that? Right control. Whatever it says in the bottom right hand corner of the window in the VM. Oh, repo list. I had it backwards. Yum repo list. There it goes. So it shows it a little bit differently, but it only shows the repos that are enabled, which is AppStream, Base, and Extras. So if you want to dig down and figure out, I mean, it's a good thing to do. Just Google what software CentOS 8 AppStream contains, and it'll give you a list. But Base is the base CentOS system, so it's got all the tools that you might expect, like GNOME, the graphical user interface that we're using right here, as well as things like Firefox. All right, so let me see if I can afford to run a third VM real quick. We'll be cutting it close. Oh, just kidding. It's already loaded. All right, so in the lab, I have you guys doing a couple of things extra with Ubuntu. As I mentioned before in the lecture, that the Ubuntu machine, oops, not that. Oh, there it is. That the Ubuntu machine will not install a GUI by default. That is true. But if you were looking early on Tuesday, then this didn't say that. It said GNOME-session and GDM3. That will work. It will totally work. It's not going to break anything if you did that earlier on. But it won't install things like a terminal, a GUI terminal. It just gives you a GUI. That's it. Like no tools or anything. So it just runs a GUI. So instead, you'll install this. This will get you all the software that you're seeing on CentOS and OpenSUSE as well, like a word processor, Firefox, terminal, all that junk. So it's going to be pretty big. So when you do this, sudo apt Ubuntu desktop, it's going to come back with, yeah, look at that. All those things are required. And then it's going to go through a little bit more. Those things are recommended, but will not be installed. And then at the bottom, it'll say, ooh, gosh, that's 2 gigs of additional disk space will be used. And 500 megs of stuff will be downloaded. So anyway, notice that third line, third from the bottom says need to get 587 megabytes of archives. That's what it needs to download. And then after this operation, everything it downloads is compressed. So after it uncompresses it, puts it where it needs to be so that you can use it, changes the configurations, a little over 2 gigs of additional disk space will be used. Notice the default in apt is when you hit enter, it's yes, not no. So when you're swapping from distro to distro to distro, just read what it's asking you. And if there's a class in this whole series that's going to make you have to read things, it's this one. So be aware that capitals typically mean that's the default. And if you just hit enter, it's just going to do that. So I'm going to skip that for now, but I wanted to show you some of the other things as well. So yeah, I wanted to do it in CentOS, but the GUI is being weird. You know what? Let's just do it in OpenSUSE. So I have y'all go into a website to go download something. Here. So in OpenSUSE, right? Blah, blah, blah. Install the package manually. So go download the correct distribution package for VS Code. I don't need y'all to do that in the terminal. Y'all can totally straight up use Firefox. So open up Firefox. SUSE was acting kind of slow for me, so hang tight if it's being slow for you as well. We're not going to do a lot with the browser. This is some pretty preliminary stuff, so to be honest with you, as we get past about week 3 or so, you can just drop down to the terminal without ever logging into the GUI, ever. Because all of our work will be done there. Well, most. Man, I really should give that a second core, like real fast. All right. So that's taking me to code.visualstudio.com. Ooh-wee. Whoa. Not good. And I think it doesn't help that I'm recording video as well. Cool. Stop that. What's that? Yeah, I don't know why it's been so slow. Yeah, I think a lot of my problem is that I'm running 3 at a time. Oh yeah, my CPU's pegged at 100%, so that doesn't help. Yeah, OBS is taking up, a lot of that juice. And then my VM's doing their thing in the background, doesn't help. So, all right, so when you get here, it's going to give you a couple of different options, right? I mean, your Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat, Fedoras, and everything else. But OpenSUSE uses RPM. And then it'll tell you a little bit down here. Wait. And they have it a little further down where it's just to download the actual RPM here somewhere. There it is. Installing RPM package manually. Come down here and get this. And then it actually straight up tells you how to install it. So that's really what I wanted you guys to get a hold of. Install VS Code. It's a really nice text editor. It works on Windows as well. Not a bad idea to just go ahead and install it for yourself anywhere you go. Because one of the things that you're going to find that VS Code does really, really well is color coding. So if you ever get yourself a text file, or you're working on a script, or you're looking at a web page that you need to kind of parse through, figure out where the bugs are or anything like that, VS Code is going to be pretty fantastic because it'll do a color code for you. So if you're writing a script, it will color code the executables, the comments, any kind of special characters or anything like that. It will pretty much take care of you in terms of making it easy to read and easy to write additional code and help you parse out mistakes, things like that. If you forget to put a semicolon at the end of a line, your next line is going to be the wrong color. So it's it's pretty intuitive for how it actually works. Now, with these RPMs, you can install them like Windows and Mac software. You can double click on them and get them all done, but I do not want you to do that at all. My plan for all of this stuff is for you to do it all through the command line. So in this case, once you're done, you can, I just forget how to do this. Just move out of my way. Terminal. All right. The biggest thing I wanted to show you guys was how to deal with moving around the file system. So when you download this thing, Firefox will typically just dump everything in the downloads folder of your user. So there's a quick way to get back home, and that's just to type in CD by itself. So change directory without any arguments whatsoever will take you home. And if you look here, that little squiggly is a shortcut way to say home. So you could also do CD squiggly or CD home Leo. Doesn't matter. Still leaves you at the same spot. Right? PWD will remind you where you are. Because, right, squiggly doesn't tell you a whole lot if you don't actually have it memorized where that leads to. You can do PWD, and it will show you here. I'm in home Leo. If you go to the file manager, that little file cabinet looking thing, that'll be here, home. So if I head back to my terminal real quick, and I do an ls, you don't have to add the L option, but it makes things prettier, I think. You see bin, desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates, videos. Back to the file manager, same stuff, right? So home, if you go into downloads, there's my download. That's what I just got from the web page. In the terminal, you'll go into the downloads folder, this one, typing CD. So notice, right, like I'm in the directory that actually contains downloads. So I can shortcut, I don't have to put the whole path. You can do this, and that'll take you there. But, and if you want to talk absolute versus relative path, this is the absolute path, right? Like no matter where you are in the file system, if you type that in, you're going to go straight there. It will take you there. But since I'm in the directory that contains the downloads folder, I can just type in CD downloads, right? It's not ambiguous. There is a downloads folder here. If I type this in, it'll drop me in there, right? So notice this, the path has changed here. Squiggly / downloads. So what is squiggly again? Home. So if I do a PWD, it'll look a lot like this one. I did PWD up here. PWD again. Same thing, but now downloads is at the end. So now I know where I'm at. If I do ls, I see that same file. Code 141.1, blah, 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 RPM, right? So, oh wait. Do I have DNF? Nope, surely not. So, zipper in. Code. See if that'll do it for me. I don't even know if that'll do it for me. I might have to use RPM to do this. Tab. I'll show you again. Ah, cool. So it's going to do it. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Linux will basically look ahead of what you're trying to type. And when you do things like zipper in, here's what I tried. Here's kind of a recap of exactly what I did in my whole thought process, and I actually made a mistake. Well, didn't. Yeah, okay. So basically, called it a mistake. Had to back it up and then let Linux take care of it. So here's the deal. Here's what I did first. So sudo zipper install, and since I'm in the downloads folder, what was in the downloads folder? Just that code, right? That's it. Code, blah, 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 blah. That's all that was in there. So I can get away with typing in C, and I did a double tab there, and it said display all possibilities. Hang on. So anyway, so I did tab. That was the secret sauce to this thing. But it told me 700 possibilities. So what it was doing, Zipper knows how to install software from the internet. So when I typed in C and hit double tab, it was like, all right, there are 760 packages that I could possibly install that start with the letter C. And I was like, no, that's not what I want. Don't show me those. I don't want to see that. So I hit no. And this is a quick little shortcut for right here. Then I type C, hit tab, and it types the rest of that out. Yes. So that little ./ means right here in this downloads folder, I think you're gonna find something starting with the letter C, and when you hit tab and it fleshes it out for you, Linux agrees with you. Let's test that theory out. So the question was, what happens if you have more than one thing with the letter C in it? So let's do all right, so now we got code and we got cat.rpm in here. And now we're going to try that same thing again. All right, C, tab. Nothing happens. Tab it again. It's like, well, which one then? It shows you the two options that you have. So if you do CA and then tab, it's not ambiguous anymore. Now Linux knows which one you're talking about, right? Because only cat has CA. And then same with CO. Tab that out, right? It becomes unambiguous once you get far enough in. So if there's ever a question, you know there's a bunch of stuff in there that starts with C, just type in the first, 3, 4, 5 letters or something like that, and then hit tab, and it'll be good. But if you don't know what's in the directory, type in the first couple letters, hit tab a couple times, and it'll show you the options. That's what happened right here. I was like, well, I don't know which one you want, man. So, here they are. Pick one. Or type a little bit more out and then hit tab, and then I'll fill it out for you the rest of the way. Because, yeah, man, I'm not trying to type that. That is insane. I will typo that 100 times before I get it right. So, anyway, at that point, you should be good to go to hit enter, and it'll take it from there. Zypper will go download any additional libraries that code might need, and then it'll take care of the rest. So, in CentOS, how would it work? CentOS doesn't have Zypper. CentOS has what? Yum. Or DNF, but they work the same. So yes. How would you do it there? Sudo yum what? Uh-huh. And then? This code, it doesn't really matter. So I don't think Yum actually cares. I don't think Yum needs it, but it's not a bad idea to just go ahead and always have that there, so it's not ambiguous in any way what exactly it is that you're doing. So, I'm sorry? If you don't have it installed. So you download the RPM from the website. Yeah, right. It's already downloaded, yes. You've already used Firefox. You've already gone in, downloaded that RPM, and you're doing the same process. CD downloads, Yep, CD downloads, and then sudo yum install /c tab, and it'll take care of the rest of it. That'll be one way to do that. And then for Ubuntu, once you get the desktop installed, assuming that all goes well, you'll do the same thing. Click on Firefox, go to VS Code, except Debian derivatives like Ubuntu do not use RPM. What do they use? Deb. Yep. So when you go to the website, it's going to tell you, do you want the RPM or the Deb? Obviously, in that case, you'll choose Deb, but the same thing applies, except Ubuntu doesn't use Yum, DNF, or Zypper. It uses what? Doesn't use RPM. Dpackage, if you're just dealing with local files, what is its package manager? So the analog to Yum, DNF, and Zypper, what is that? Starts with an A. Apt, that's it. So in this case, it would be, assuming you've already downloaded the file, right? CD, downloads, doesn't have one. Let's create one, CD, downloads, then sudo apt install code blah 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 dot deb, right? That's how you'll get that done. And if there's any libraries needed, apt will go out, grab them, install them, and take care of everything for you. That's it. So it's gonna look like, at least at this point, that there are massive, massive differences between each distribution, right? Like Ubuntu's got one way of doing things. CentOS has another way of doing things. OpenSUSE has another way of doing things. But it's really just some of the things that you encounter. And because the book hits this first, we're encountering something that makes it look like there's a huge chasm in between. Once we get past maybe the first couple of chapters in this book, we're going to get to the point where I'm not going to specify in my labs which Linux I want you to use. I'm just going to say, open up a Linux VM and then whatever. Because once you get past some of these superficial things, it's all Linux underneath. So the only big deals is how you install software and like the locations of some files. Outside of that, Linux is Linux. If you're compiling software or something like that, it's all the same. So don't let this color, I mean, it will now, but you'll see that it's not going to need to color your perception of how Linux works or anything like that. Other than that, what's that? Yeah, that helps. Yeah. Yeah, so what I meant by that was, so when you just check the disk and click done. And then CentOS will it'll take the whole disk and use the whole thing. All right. But that was the show. Oh, I did mean to show you one more thing. You don't have to get unset up or anything, or set back up or anything like that. But I just wanted to show you what it actually looked like when you ran where these repositories were. I showed you on OpenSUSE that Zypper LR. I showed you on CentOS that yum repo list. And then in Ubuntu, it's going to be, cat is just a way to read text files. It is not fancy. Every version of Linux has cat, every version. But only Ubuntu will store the list of where they search for software in this spot. So it's under etc apt sources.list. And then you can see anything that starts with a hash mark is totally ignored. And let me do this. This makes it a whole lot easier to read. The blue stuff is ignored anyway, so even though it's hard to read, you don't have to worry about it. So notice these lines, right? It's a Debian archive. The link to it is in the green. The version software that you're getting is Bionic. So Bionic is the code name for 1804, which y'all installed. Main and restricted. So main meaning it's a main repository, and restricted meaning that Ubuntu are the only group that can add to it. So restricted meaning they vetted it all. That is something that you should be confident installing software without having to worry about going through the policy or anything like that. Notice Universe and Multiverse do not have that. So you're on your own with those. Anyway, that was it. Just wanted to show you that real quick. All right, so I'll have more show later on instead of just tell. But that'll be it.